Hello, everyone, and welcome to Stories with a Bast. Today, we're going to be hearing the story of Jaque the Juggler. When Jaque was a little boy, he had no mother and no father. He grew up alone on the streets. But he had one thing. He had learned how to juggle, and he had learned how to juggle quite well. He was juggling, and that's how he made his money. He would juggle for shows on the street and get money in his hat. But Jaque always wanted other people around like him. One day, a circus came to town. He went to the circus and watched the show, and there were people of all shapes and sizes doing amazing things. Jaque saw other jugglers, performers, acrobats, people balancing on balls and doing great plays and other great works of art, and he was amazed. Jaque wanted to travel with this circus group as well. He knew that this was what he was meant to do. So after the show, he went up to the person in charge and he said, "Please, sir." And the person pushed him away and said, "No vagabonds here." Well, Jaque was not deterred, and before the man could say another word, Jaque pulled out his stones that he carried with him at all times, and he started to juggle. The man watched, and after a while the man was quite impressed, and he said, "Well, we might have a place for you here after all." And so he promised Jaque a place in the circus and told him he would get him trained up in proper official juggling with some other masters in the group. So the very first show came out where Jaque was involved, and he came out with clown makeup on and dressed as a clown, and the crowd looked on and wondering what Jaque was up to. And then he pulled out his clubs, his juggling clubs. He started juggling them, first 2, then 3, then 4. Then he pulled out plates and started spinning plates on top of the juggling pins. And he juggled those spinning plates, and he juggled and juggled. Then he pulled out flaming batons and started juggling those batons high in the air. First 3, then 4 flaming batons. Then Jaque pulled out his colorful bag, and he started juggling balls. First he pulled out red, then orange, then yellow, green, blue, and violet. He was juggling and juggling so furiously, and eventually he created a beautiful rainbow with his colorful balls. Now, eventually, Jaque pulled out the golden ball and threw it up to join his rainbow of colors so that there was a sun floating in the sky with his rainbow. Now, everyone was amazed by Jaque's skill and talent, and they clapped and cheered, and Jaque knew he was in the right place. And so he went and lived with the circus for many years, and he juggled with his colorful balls and his batons and his flaming sticks. Eventually, Jaque became quite talented and decided that it was time to go out on his own. So he left the circus and started juggling and juggling around the world. He juggled for kings and emperors and great famous people. He juggled for mothers and fathers and children alike, and they were all amazed. He would juggle his pins and his plates and his flaming batons, and they would cheer and clap. And then he would pull out his colorful bag, and he would throw up his ball, first red, then orange, then yellow, green and blue and violet, and he would create his beautiful rainbow of colors, juggling those balls so fast and furious. And then, as always, he would pull out the great golden ball and juggle it high in the air so that there was a sun in the sky. Now, one day, people started growing tired of Jaque, seeing him in his painted face and his juggling balls. They said he was an old trick, and they started laughing at him and did not respect him anymore for his art. And so Jaque was once again on the street, juggling for people who did not seem to care about his love of juggling. And he was back where he had started, with no mother and no father, No money, not even shoes or a hat. He was back on the street, trying to juggle for his bread. One day, Jaque, desperate and alone and rather cold, went into a church nearby. He crawled into the church and curled up in a corner, going into a fitful sleep of someone who has not had a good sleep in many, many years. He tossed and turned, trying to sleep off some of the ever-present fatigue in his life. Now, Jaque was an old man at this point, and his life was hard. Eventually, Jaque woke to the sound of music playing. He could hear it coming from the front of the church, and he peeked over the bench he was hiding behind. And up there was an organ player playing music for the Lord. There was a great nativity scene up there, for it was Christmas time. And the baby Jesus was cradled in the arms of Mary with Joseph by her side. And people were coming to pay their respects. And eventually, later that night, the church was empty, and it was simply Jaque there with Mary, Joseph, and the baby Jesus. Now everybody went and paid their respects and had given gifts to the baby Jesus. But Jaque, having nothing to give, went up and looked at the baby Jesus' face, close and long. And he saw that the baby Jesus did not look happy. It had a frown on its face. And he thought to himself, the baby Jesus should be happy. He is the Lord, after all, and has brought happiness to so many people. And so Jaque juggled for the baby Jesus. That was his gift to the Lord that Christmas. He juggled his pins high in the air. He juggled his spinning plates. He juggled his flaming pins even higher. And then Jaque brought out his colorful bag of balls. And he brought out the green, the blue, the violet, the red, the orange, the yellow. And he created a great, beautiful rainbow in the sky. And then eventually he brought out his golden ball, the great golden sun in the sky. Now, just as he was finishing, one of the priests saw what Jaque was doing and started coming up behind him, calling, "Hey there, stop that. What are you doing juggling in a church?" Well, Jaque, he stopped his juggling, and then he fell to the ground. The priest ran up and shook him, but Jaque had died. And up looked the priest at baby Jesus, and there he was, all made of wood, and he was smiling, and in his hand was a golden ball. And from then on, in churches everywhere, the baby Jesus smiles when he sees jugglers, for he knows the love they have and the love he has for them. This was a rendition of a French juggler story that I heard the other day from a lovely lady I can't remember the name of. I hope you've all enjoyed it, and have yourself a good day. Thank you.